Good morning, Cornerstone. Happy Monday here for your inspirational vitamin. I'm going to be reading in Acts chapter 1, starting in verse 9. And I'm going to pick up a little bit where Robert's sermon left off. It says in Acts chapter 1, verse 9, after he had said this, he was taken up as they were watching, and a cloud hid him from their sight. While he was going, they were gazing into heaven, and suddenly two men in white clothes stood by them. They said, Men of Galilee, why do you stand looking up into heaven? The same Jesus who has been taken from you into heaven will come in the same way that you have seen him going into heaven. A couple of things. Robert did such an amazing job yesterday talking about the ascension. I wanted to pick up, Acts chapter 1 earlier tells us that Jesus had appeared over a period of 40 days after his resurrection. A lot of times we have it in our mind that, the day he rose from the dead is the day he ascended back into heaven. Well, no, he was there for about a month and a half more after that, and appearing, reappearing, so on and so forth. And, um, uh, there were times when he just sort of vanished from their sight, and so I think with this time, he wanted to make it very clear that I am leaving, and I'm going to be at the right hand of the Father. And so he ascends up into heaven, and they're just sort of standing there staring into the sky. And I love this fact that two angels show up. As Robert pointed out, angels announced the birth of Jesus, and then angels announced the return of Jesus here, sort of at the end. And these guys are just staring off into the sky until the angels kind of snap them out of it, right? Like, okay, time to get to work, so to speak. We have these expressions. God helps those who help themselves. In Spanish, you say, "A Dios rogando y con el mazo dando," like praying to God but hitting the stone with the axe. Um, there's our part. Yes, we need to look to heaven, we need to look to God, but there's also our part that we need to be involved and do with our hands. And these guys then go out, and the entire book of Acts is these guys fulfilling the Great Commission: go make disciples of all nations. And probably the one thing I really, really wanted to point out about this as you think about this scripture today is it said, Men of Galilee, why do you stand looking up into heaven? The same Jesus who has been taken from you into heaven will come in the same way you've seen him going into heaven. What would life be like if we lived as though Jesus was really returning? He could have returned today. We read about that passage in Thessalonians where there were some followers of Jesus who they believed his return to be so imminent in their lifetime that some of them had completely stopped working. Like, what's the point? Jesus will be back. Why should we even work? And in our Western perspective, a lot of times from that passage, what we focus on is the if you won't work, you won't eat, right? And we just get very much into that aspect of it. But I can appreciate their hearts, like in the sense that they just were like, man, Jesus is coming back. Nothing else matters. And yes, we still need to work. We need to take care of our families, our jobs, so on and so forth. But how can we live as though if Jesus is going to return from heaven in the same way that these guys saw him going to heaven? Are we just standing around looking still at the sky? Are we um, fulfilling the Great Commission, fulfilling the greatest command? Um, you know, Jesus said in one passage in Luke, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on earth, right? Like, will he come back and find us at work for him with our candles lit and ready for his return? So that's my encouragement for you today is live as though Jesus could return today, right? Don't put off till tomorrow sharing your faith with someone. Don't put off till tomorrow having some great time with God, taking care of your family, a good deed you can do. Don't put off, right? Because Jesus could return even today, and let's live like it. Love you. Let's have a great week.